Hi there, welcome to another episode of Small Astrology, and today we are looking at the small Capricorn. So Capricorn is an I build energy. It is a cardinal earth sign and it is all about authority and discipline. So this is a child who needs to be recognized for their abilities and their skills, but also deep down, even though they may not show it on the outside, just wants to be loved. Now, they know what they want. They know how to get it. They're very tactful about it. And that can come across a little bit intimidating or a little bit imposing sometimes. So really work with trying to help them figure out how to approach things and people with a smile. Now, they do not cause parents really that many unnecessary worries because they are quite a meek child and they do tend to learn very quickly and understand a mother with just a look or a couple of words. They can be perceived as a bit needy though, because they will need to grab your attention because they are in that younger ages. That Capricorn energy really does need to be recognized for the hard work that it puts in. They are often very satisfied with toys that they've had for a while. They do not need to be impressed by new shiny things all of the time. Now, they will carefully weigh up options and make an informed decision before they act. Now, this is not the child that's going to shock you with crazy antics or impulse behavior in the future, and we can really work on this skill in the earlier days. Now, they have a practical side, and this makes them... They know what is a good or a bad choice. In the early days, we do need to help them as their caregivers to decide what is right and wrong. They do need some help and guidance. But once they have made a choice and made a decision, they are very stubborn around that and they will keep to it. So we need to make sure that we are helping guide them in the ways of what is right and what is wrong very early on, because they will become quite stubborn in their belief systems. Now, they often show up very calm, very obedient, and they do tend to have a lot of different interests because Capricorn needs to learn a lot of things and learn them well. They also seem to come with an understanding that adults have enough problems of their own and they aren't really coming to you a lot with their whims once they get out of that toddler age, of course. Now, the love that a Capricorn child has for their parents is boundless. They get very used to the home environment, they get very used to their beds, very used to their toys, and they will not forfeit this comfort for anything. Now, Capricorn energy is very demanding of itself, and this just comes with that discipline energy that they have. So they are very well aware of all of their shortcomings. So as caregivers, we need to constantly emphasize our love for them, and we need to do that from a place of they are loved simply for existing and not for their qualities and their merits. Capricorn energy comes into this world knowing that discipline is important and that working hard is important. So they already tend to have a lot of belief in that on themselves, and we need to make sure that they understand that they do not have to work hard and perform in order to be loved. Now, they've got quite a strong inner core, even though they might show up a little bit timid and insecure. This is the sort of child that will set a goal and they will reach it in their own time. This can be quite frustrating. Now, Capricorn energy will try and try and try again to achieve the task, and they will get there eventually because, again, they are quite stubborn when it comes to things to do with their interests or their values and principles. They like to walk their own walk, and they are often only friends with people that are trusted, and they will not rush to open up to new people. They often just show up with a few friends, but they don't really care. So don't be concerned if your Capricorn child does not have a lot of friends. They do not care about it. They really appreciate family life and they will stand up for their brothers and sisters. Now, this can come with a little bit of jealousy, but that is only because they feel like they might be lacking some of your parental attention. Now, they're not it's not a demonstrative energy, Capricorn energy. They kind of go about their own business. And because of that, they are not going to be the child to interfere or break up fights that don't concern them. They will likely sit and silently observe and draw their own conclusions from the behavior that they are seeing. They're very contemplative and they're a little detached. So their appearance can be a bit deceptive and their emotions can show up quite superficially. This is the kind of energy where when the emotions are real, you might not see them, but when the emotions are to get attention, they will show up in a superficial manner. So to really understand what is going on in a Capricorn's head, you have to gain their confidence and you have to learn to speak their language, their body language in particular. And once you know how your Capricorn child deals with certain things and certain experiences, it becomes a little bit easier to be able to predict what's going on with them, because they are creatures of comfort and discipline and they will stick to the same way of dealing with things. If you are not fast to pick up on that, it can be quite challenging to really know what's going on in their heads. They are the sort of child who can disconnect that emotional external exterior in order to stay disciplined and to head towards the task. Now, they are, in the way of health, very stable, very viable. Their physique often is quite fragile to look at, though, as children. They're not really that inclined as children to any kind of fullness of body, any kind of really muscular. They're very slender, and sometimes they have a reduced appetite, and parents should not be worried about that, because just like that Virgo energy, Capricorn energy knows how much food it needs to have as a child. So try and run with their mentality around what they need to eat. Now, often Capricorn children are related to not having enough fluoride, phosphorus, or calcium. So their teeth and bones are often more at risk than other children. They also need to avoid stress because they do have quite sensitive nervous systems. Now, anything that requires perseverance and patience, you will find a Capricorn very easily able to master it. Now, they are quite creative as well, although sometimes that discipline and practical energy and the seriousness of Capricorn might inhibit them from being able to go fully into a fantasy when they are being creative, but they do enjoy it. Now, they're not one to want to perform on stage. This is not a child that wants to get up and perform in front of everyone, although again, with that creative side, you will find that they do quite love painting and singing and playing instruments, and that they will have the diligence to get quite good at it, but this is not the energy of one that wants to stand up and shine in front of everyone. Now, they are very responsible students as well. They like order. Now, they do only learn the lesson because it needs to be done. Often, a lot of the time, it's not because they enjoy the subject, it's just because they believe that it's necessary. Because obviously in the minds of a Capricorn, there are no rules to break. So they will learn the lesson because that is what the teacher told them to do. Now, you need to work on the self-confidence of a Capricorn. It does come with time, and by that time, they're usually quite self-disciplined and quite well-trained. They do have a considerable supply of useful knowledge as they grow older because they are very interested in learning. So don't be surprised if you have that Capricorn child all throughout school who's very quiet, very shy, does not want to take part in performing, and then in the final years of school wants to become an activist, wants to stand up and become a leader. That is because it is a slow burn kind of confidence with a Capricorn child, and over time, as they learn new things, they become more sure of themselves. That is when that leader energy starts to appear. So really work on not blaming them for what appears to be a lack of initiative or a lack of decision making, okay? They might seem quite indecisive and passive, but really they are just waiting for a convenient moment to start the goal, to start acting, and that is a convenient moment for them, not for you. So we need to teach them restraint and perseverance as well. They do come into the world with that, and we need to teach them how to use that properly and work on teaching them also how to compromise and also how to give in, because again, with that stubborn energy, it's very difficult for them to give in to something, even if they might think that they could be wrong. So we need to teach them that skill as we teach them how to use their restraint and perseverance correctly. We also need to teach them how to calmly perceive a change of atmosphere and how to tolerate attitudes towards other people's views. This leader energy and authority energy can get quite mixed up in that stubborn space of not being open to hearing other people's opinions. And it is quite difficult for them to accept any kind of new ideas and ideas that seem quite incomprehensible to their traditional minds. So because of this traditional belief system that Capricorn energy really supports, they're not really looking for any new and revolutionary ways of doing things. So you do also need to teach them how to look for alternative options and how to see different things, different needs, and also to communicate with their peers more. That's where they will find this ability to look at alternative options through seeing that other people can achieve goals through a different avenue. Now, they will be strongly attached to home, and this can, in the early days, form a bit of lack of autonomy. So really make sure that you are sending them for regular visits with family and friends, going on school camps, and teaching them how to adapt to a new environment. They do get quite locked on and comfortable in that home environment. Now, with this Capricorn energy, more than most other children, you are going to hear the word no quite a lot. Even though we see that a lot in toddlers and young children, Capricorn is one that will use this word quite a lot, because one of the side effects of the ability of them to make a decision and stick to it and to be serious and practical, they do think that they are right about everything. And when you are going into a discussion with a Capricorn child who has said no and you are trying to convince that needs to happen, you need to make sure you have a solid reason in order to help fend off any argument, because they will have their reasons ready to go. Now, they're very adaptable to learning new skills. They're very self-sufficient, and you may have to teach them in a slow, steady process, Capricorn energy, but you will be surprised at how quickly they can pick up certain things. So teaching them how to make their own bed and do their homework and pick up their toys and make their own sandwiches quite early on, you will find that they can put this into that discipline energy. They will pick it up very quickly, and they will require very few reminders once they have mastered it. They do also have an innate understanding of the importance of keeping their word. And we need to appreciate and praise them for things like this. Praise them for the right things they do. And because they are attention seekers in that younger energy, and they do need to be praised quite a lot, if we don't treat that energy correctly, they can become quite self-absorbed. So it's really important, as well as while we are training them and teaching them how to be comfortable in new environments, we also need to be aware to teach them how to be okay when there's nobody there to give them that attention, how to find their own acceptance and their own validation and their own pat on the back from within is very important. So working on that confidence earlier on and really working with them to be able to pat themselves on the back and give themselves applause and to notice their own achievements very early on helps them a lot in life. Now, we are required as the caregivers of these Capricorn children to really teach them the difference between good and bad in an early days, because again, that stubborn energy will latch on to what they have learned and they will hold on to that. So they are also very compassionate and very vulnerable, but they're very judgmental and quite repressive with their true emotions, and that can then show up for other people. They are not interested in other people's emotions. They tend to not have as much empathy for them, even though inside their soul they are quite vulnerable and compassionate. So while we are teaching these lessons of what is good and what is bad, we also need to be leaning into the compassionate side and helping them be able to express their own emotions instead of repressing them. They do have a lot of generosity. They do have a lot of mercy, even though they will not be showing up to fight somebody else's fight. And these qualities need to be encouraged as well, because that is quite a gift that we don't want them to squander as they grow older and get stuck in their ways with that Capricorn energy. We also need to be aware that with that huge discipline energy, we need to teach them about the joys in life and not to be overly strict with themselves. So even though we are encouraging them to do the right thing, we also want to encourage them to be able to give in a little bit of the time and to be able to, break rules for fun, not serious rules, not non-negotiable seatbelt wearing rules, but just be a little bit more flexible in their rule structure. Be aware that you need to be very sensitive towards the dreams and goals of a Capricorn child. They set these goals very close to their heart and soul, and you laughing at them or not taking them seriously, it can greatly discourage them and it will really break their little hearts. So fuel their intelligence, work on their self-confidence, give them tasks that make them have to think and find a solution. They'll really enjoy that. Encourage them for following through on commitments and for taking responsibility for their actions. And remember that deep down inside, Capricorns just want to be loved. And even though they show up a little bit on the repressed side of the emotions and like they don't really need anything, this is that child who will surprise you with a little note, with a little kiss, with a little cuddle, and a fistful of flowers if they're running around outside. So just be aware of their little hearts, even though they might not show up with it open. That's what I've got for you on having a little Capricorn child. If you would like to like and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate that. That will help me get this information out to as many people as possible. Also check out my Instagram and my TikTok for other astrology information that I pop up there quite regularly. And if you are interested in having a full birth chart analysis done for your child, also for yourself, please check out my website. You will find them very helpful in knowing what's going on in their little heads, because of course we are only looking at sun signs in this series, and there are a number of other placements that can help you get to know your child. Until next time, stay weird.